Hmm. A small walk at night. Okay, new save. I often take strolls at night. I enjoy the time to think, you see. And on the night in question, I happened to be passing by the front of Mr. Butts' home. It must have been around at 9:30 or so. And I found myself absolutely stunned by the house's architecture. Crime scene info by Franziska. Not especially good looking, but the garden in front of the house is kept well enough, I suppose. But this is Franziska's opinion, so who knows. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I must have stood there for a solid half an hour. At around 10, I happened to notice this man here, Mr. Wright, walking down the street. I actually seem to remember wishing him a good evening. Upon seeing him ring the doorbell at the house and be invited in. During the entire time I was there, I saw nobody else around the house. This sounds so convenient. Well, there you have it. Your theory is officially impossible, boy. What say you to this testimony, Apollo Justice? Mr. Justice, will you proceed with your cross-examination, Your Honor? I have an idea. Oh, whoops! I loaded instead of saved. I have an idea though. Basically, him saying that the house is wonderful, but that's opinion, so it's not exactly a major contradiction. And even so, if I don't say that there's a contradiction, I'll probably be forced to do it anyway. But who knows? Let's see what happens if I say that there's no contradiction. So it goes back to this. And then I can blame the maid, but let's go back. Let's see if I actually can... No contradictions. Yeah, it goes back to this.
Objection!
Hold on just a minute. You got your urn. Crime scene info. Okay, so it's a mistake. Unless there's like something else, but yeah, I think I have to back off for now, and then he'll come back later. But given that, I'm actually gonna keep this save in case this is like a different path or something. Yes, more to discuss, Christoph Gavin. This is a really complex case and I'm liking it a lot. But anyway, now it's time to blame the maid somehow. The maid checked the body and found a key in Mr. Butts' pocket. So here I'm going to do a super objection, the maid and the key. Yep. Of course, it's so simple. The killer is the maid. The maid? Interesting. Do explain how that works. I have a feeling she's already figured out what I'm getting at. As I said, it's simple. What happened was nothing! That's the maid? Trucy? Okay. She doesn't look like a maid. Like, the thing is that there's characters in maid costumes in Ace Attorney 3. I was expecting one of those two. Or 3, technically. Miss Smith, calm down. Who might you be? I'm the maid this gent is accusing of murder. Honestly, I'm not one to judge by a hairstyle, but... You're whacked in the head if you think I did it. You didn't even let me finish. There's nothing to finish. I didn't do it. There, end of story. Miss Smith, I told you to calm down. But you will have a chance to defend yourself. Of that I assure you. For now, it might be enough for you to tell us your name and occupation. Miss Von Karma, she hasn't been called... Yeah. Consider the situation, I would have called her anyway. So, name and occupation. So... Trucy's profile is about to be updated now. Yep, right here. Because the maid profile was removed first. Butts' maid, a rather energetic young girl. I'm somewhat afraid to question why she's dressed in a magician's outfit. Not a murderer. Again, if you will give me a chance to explain, assuming that a trick with the radio is what happened. Which it didn't. Miss Smith? Ugh. Then, once again, one of the two people first on the scene must be the culprit. And eventually I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to accuse the wife eventually. Simple reason. The key. Resorting to third-rate tricks, are we? Real life often does call for third-rate tricks, Miss Von Karma. Hello? How does this little key convict me? The key itself doesn't. The fact that you found it does. The defense proposes this. The key was never actually in the room to begin with. Instead, while you claim to have found it, you were actually planting it on the body. So, you killed Mr. Butts. Placed the tape and locked the door from the outside. The tape was timed for half an hour or so. Naturally, you couldn't predict the guest would come back, but... you would have probably gotten Mr. Butts' wife to be your witness, if necessary. Things just turned out conveniently for you. Then, after the gunshot was heard and the door was broken down, you pretended to find the key on Mr. Butts' body. Thus creating the illusion of a perfect locked room. It's as simple as that. No, it's not. How so, Miss Smith? Why would I kill him? And more importantly, do you have any evidence to back this up? My job here is to prove a possibility, nothing more. So no reason to provide a motive. Actually, Mr. Justice... the wife! Miss Maya! And who are you supposed to be? Ms. Von Karma, I ask you to control your witnesses! I would have eventually called her on the stand as well. This is the victim's wife, Miss Maya Butts. Oh my god. This is Maya... No, yeah, this is Maya currently, summoning up Mia. I think the sprite is glitched. Yeah, the sprite is glitched, unfortunately. Well, if you don't count channeling, I suppose. Okay, so one of the sprites of Maya right here is glitched, unfortunately. It's tragic, but I'm gonna deal with it. So you're a medium like Mr. Butts was. It isn't exactly coincidence that we were husband and wife, Your Honor. Larry was the only male to display the ability to channel the dead in years, perhaps even centuries. This is awkward. Very, very awkward. Yeah, sure, totally believe that, no sweat. So me being the Crane master at the time... married him? What about love? Oh, sure, I guess you could say I loved him. But you could also say I loved his money more. Ugh. That's rather direct. And why wouldn't it be? Don't get me wrong, I'm sorry that he's dead, but now that he's gone, I'm entitled to essentially everything. Besides, he was quite notorious for playing around. Okay, I think it's quite clear that everyone here is guilty. Phoenix Wright, Trucy Smith, Maya Butts, and Christoph Gavin. They were all in it for the money. And nothing else. But how does this relate to Ares, I wonder? I guess we'll have to see. I'll continue until we hear her statement. And, well, somewhat statement. And then we'll save and stop for the time being. Because I don't think I'm even close to done yet. No offense, Miss Maya. Oh, by the way, another thing. I'm starting to see why this is called an alternate universe. Because it would have pissed off fans of these characters to know that they were actually murderers. Now, wouldn't it? I'm almost positive. Anyway. Why exactly is my theory wrong? Well, it's a pretty good theory, but I'm afraid it's impossible. Again, why? I suppose you might as well testify on the matter, Miss Faye. Show Apollo Justice that third-rate solutions are considered that for a reason. Gladly, Miss Von Karma. It really is awkward that Maya's sprite keeps disappearing. For too long, too. If it was just like one frame, it'd be something, but here it's disappearing for like 3, 4, 5 seconds. Ugh. From 9 to about 9:35 p.m. I was outside doing some gardening work. Outside the house. When I came in, I happened to see Trucy leaving the dining room. I saw my husband standing at the edge of the door, wishing her good night and closing it. I also heard a loud click afterwards. That must have been the door locking. From that point on, Trucy was with me up until 10 or so, when I think Larry's friend returned. I stayed in the living room while Trucy went to greet him. And, well, after that... This directly contradicts what Christoph Gavin said, however. Ha! Take that, Spikes! I prefer Mr. Justice if you don't mind. And did you just steal my line? And I would have preferred it if you hadn't accused me of murder. Reality sucks, huh? Trucy, be a little more respectful. But he accused me of murder! And now he sees that he's wrong. Not quite, actually. No need to take it any further. A calm and rational mind. It's a quality not many people possess these days, sadly. It is no coincidence you are the master, it seems. Well, Apollo Justice, do you see that your theory doesn't work? Doesn't it work? I mean, is there a problem in what she said? Yeah, she could be lying, but is there any proof for that? If there's nothing to contradict her, then there's no need for cross-examination. I'm on the wrong track. Mr. Justice, will you commence your cross-examination? Just a second, Your Honor. I'm not in the mood to waste time. If there's nothing wrong with the testimony, I should just move on. If I claim there is something wrong, then I'll probably need to present evidence of some kind to back it up. Evidence I may or may not actually have. Now that I think about it, I don't think a cross-examination will happen at all. Since either the entire testimony is wrong or nothing is. So yeah, if you start with for like accusing Trucy, the maid, of being a murderer, you'll get the update of both Trucy and the wife, Maya, onto your evidence. And then Christoph Gavin, you'll be able to point out a major contradiction in his testimony. But because I did Christoph Gavin and Phoenix Wright's segment first, that didn't happen. Given this, I'm actually going to continue. I might actually be close to finishing. No cross-examination will be necessary. Are you sure, Mr. Justice? I'm sure, because this entire testimony contradicts the facts of the case. Huh? Well, isn't that interesting? It is indeed, Miss Faye. To me, it sounds like a bit of a bluff. But hey, I'm all one for giving a chance. Tell me, fact of the case does this testimony contradict? It's simple. At this point in time, we are left with two conflicting testimonies. So you did notice it. It's pretty hard not to. What do you mean, Mr. Justice? On one hand, we have Mrs. Butts, who says she was in the garden from 9 to 9:35. And on the other, we have Mr. Gavin, who says he was in front of the house from 9:30 to 10 p.m. But what is the connection there, Justice? On its own, there isn't one per se. But with this piece of evidence, the entire matter becomes clear, if you ask me. I'm not sure what to present here. Crime scene info, I think. Yep. Just take a look at the crime scene info. Well, specifically the information about the house itself. More specifically the position of the garden. It's in front of the house. Ergo, when Miss Butts says she was working in the garden, she actually means she was in front of the house. And if you remember, Mr. Gavin also said he was in front of the house. When you take into account the aforementioned times, you come to a realization. These two should have met each other. And yet, what was explicitly established through Mr. Gavin's testimony? That he did not see or meet anyone else outside of the house. Which means, at least one of them is a no-good liar. Ah, I see. But the question is, who? Well, the answer is quite simple. At least, for you, Apollo Justice. True. For my case to work, the answer is logical. It has to be Kristoff. Me? There's nobody else it can be. Isn't it possible for Mrs. Butts to have been a liar? Or at least that she was mistaken about the times? No, it's not. He sounds quite confident, Mr. Gavin. Perhaps you should admit to your lie now. What the— No, no! I did not lie! Fine, have it your way. Apollo Justice? Okay, I still have to prove. But I could still be wrong, too. Still, I'm liking this a lot. I have to keep going. How can I prove that my, the crime scene info, because he said the house was spectacular, but... Francisca did not think so. Ah, that proves nothing. Okay, so I got punished for that. What if I try both of them? Yeah, I guess so. True. How does that work? How does it even help you with your case? Yeah, I don't know. I have like to give me a penalty. Let's move on. Really, Your Honor? Nope. Okay, that was kind of funny. Let us say Maya. Yeah, sorry for skipping all this, but I seriously figured it would not be Maya. That was kind of funny. All is right in the world. Crap. Okay, so it has to be Kristoff. I was right the first time. But what can I use to prove that Miss Butts is not lying? Well, it has to be the window then, right? I'll go with the window. It's not the window. Okay. Cannot be the key. Or no, I could just use the Trucy, because, yeah. Miss Butts was with Trucy. Maya was with Trucy. I want to call her Maya all the time, honestly. She could easily testify at the time she saw Miss Butts meet her in the hallway. Oh, now you need me. Sorry about earlier. You aren't forgiven. But you're right, I do remember the time Miss Maya and I met in the hallway. And it was about 9:35 p.m. And Oh, damn it! I skipped that. You guys will have to pause to see that. Why would she, though? For all accounts, Mr. Butts was alive at that point. And from that point on, both of them have perfect alibis. Ergo, there is no reason for them to lie. Which means the liar must be you.
Objection!
Just because they have no reason to doesn't mean they didn't. Your testimony has been convenient from the start. You just so happened to be in the neighborhood? You just so happened to walk into this trial? You just so happened to give testimony that acquits Mr. Wright? Please, the liar's you. Ah, but you can't prove that, can you? He doesn't need to. He provided valid reason for your testimony being doubtful. Testimony which was never investigated by the police department. Or even officially accepted by the prosecution. As far as I'm concerned, your reasons are null and void. Mrs. Von Karma, whose side are you on here exactly? Ugh! What on earth? I cannot excuse such a pathetic and obvious lie. I did not lie! The evidence is hardly on your side. In any case, this means that Mr. Wright's alibi falls to pieces. Since Mr. Gavin's testimony cannot be trusted after all. Which means he's once again a valid suspect. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say to that? I say that I don't care. I've never seen this man before in my life. If he's lying, I can't imagine why. But even if he is, it's completely irrelevant. After all, you still have to answer my last problem. Which was, somebody has a fucking memory. It's a rather major issue. The maid would have noticed that the window wasn't closed. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Gosh, I can't stop anymore. I'm too invested. Hence, what you're suggesting is impossible. That is, my trick becomes impossible. Now that, on the other hand, is a valid point, Apollo Justice. Can you explain it? He can't. I can see it in his eyes. Well, yeah, this is a bit of an issue. Let's see. Apparently the window can't be closed fully from the outside. Thus, when the door was broken down, the maid would have been able to notice the window was open. Save. It's more or less the gist of what he's saying. Gist of what he's saying. Is there anything wrong with that? Any wrong assumptions, maybe? You're correct in your assumptions. Miss Smith would have probably seen the window open if you'd left it like that. And there you go, game over. And she did see it open. Because she's your accomplice in this crime. What? Are you insane? Well, what? You're accusing me again? After apologizing 2 seconds ago? Well, if you just let me. No, you listen here. Okay, I guess we're going with this. I want to see what happens if you say yes, but... No, it has to go like this, because I know they're all guilty. Why on earth would I help a guy like Wright to kill my own employer? But okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt, even though we really shouldn't. Tell me, what's the deal with this window business anyway? Why couldn't Wright simply have left it open? Everyone would assume that the culprit had shot Larry and left the room. Wright would have hardly come under suspicion that way. Miss Smith, please calm down. The hell with that. He wants to play rough, I'll play rough. I'm not gonna let anyone walk over me. All over me. And I especially won't let someone accuse me of murder. He's accusing you of being a knave to murder, dear. Not the actual murder. Same thing. It's actually not. Who cares? He's still accusing me of something I didn't do. Bah, you defense attorneys are all alike. Well, I don't know about that. Oh, right. But still, most of them are. I merely want the truth. And nothing but the truth. Truth. No, you're looking for things that aren't there. Now, if that was all, I'll be... Objection, of course. Hey, what about my cross-examination? Whatever. You won't find a contradiction. Wait, actually. I think I actually see an easy answer to her question. I mean, I could still go through the examination itself to be sure, but I think it might be unnecessary here. Maybe I should just skip it and save myself some headache. Wow, it says skipped a cross-examination, no consequences, played a cross-examination. I want to play it. Very well, let it commence. Because I want to show it, not because I... Like, if it says no consequences skipping it, but who knows, maybe it's a trap. No, there could be a lot of reasons. Name one. Well, actually, I don't care. That's not my point anyway. Besides, I'm sure I'll let you have leeway with something like that. You come up with some crazy story, so I won't waste my breath. What I'm saying is it's strange how I'd team up with some random friend of Larry's. Yeah, thanks. I didn't hate Mr. Butts. And I especially saw no reason to see him dead. But you don't care, do you? Fair enough then. Hey, speaking of which, since Phoenix Wright is supposed to be one of Larry's friends, the Ledger should mention him, right? Should have mentioned him. Yeah, he's not there. Phoenix Wright is not there. Excellent. Another thing to remember. And why not? Because you're spouting a bunch of nonsense. Throwing accusations as you see fit. Where's the reason in that? You claim you want the truth, but if the path to it is blind accusation so you can have your theory make sense, then frankly I have to question how you're a competent lawyer. Once again, calm down, Miss Smith. There are better times to hurt the defense's ego, I assure you. For now, you can focus on hurting his theory. Tell me, what's the deal with this window business anyway? What do you mean by that? Well, if you would let me finish... All this shouting. Why couldn't Wright simply have left it open? That's a good point. This entire plan could have been handled very differently. I suppose it depends on what exactly changes with the window staying closed. What would have Wright had to gain by closing the window? I'm waiting. You yelled, hold it. I'm still waiting for the question. Of course you didn't have one, did you? Sorry. No, you're not sorry. But before the solver, you will be. Now listen up. Everyone would have assumed that the culprit had shot Larry and left the room. Well, I don't know about that. It would have been the most logical conclusion. Would it have, though? Would everyone have really had assumed that if they saw the scene like that? I need to develop a what-if scenario here. What would have been the ultimate result of leaving the window open? Wright would have hardly come under suspicion that way. So essentially, it would have been assumed that some passerby walked by the house, saw an open window, and shot Mr. Butts? With all due respect, my theory seems much more logical. It's not the same. The logical conclusion in this scenario would be suicide. In the case of the open window, it would have been treated as murder. Actually, it probably wouldn't have been even that. As long as the gun was still in Mr. Butts' hand, suicide would have probably been more probable. Probably more probable. You can't know that. You're right, I can't. But that's not what happened, is it? The window was closed, and it's your job to explain why. Well, are we done yet? No, we're not. Are you going to answer my question already or not? Just give me a moment here, will you? Once again, I must advise you to calm down, Miss Smith. He isn't making it easy for me, you know. You know, the option to just skip this entire mess is still on the table. Maybe I should just point it out. Yeah, I should point it out. You say that Mr. Wright wouldn't have come under suspicion, but if the window was left open, the story would have been quite different. It would have no longer been a perfect suicide. In fact, it would have been possible to claim that it was murder. I mean, if it got a trial under these circumstances, there's a chance that the police would have looked into the matter a bit more in depth. And what would have happened then? I'll tell you. They'd reach the same theory I did. You don't... When you combine the fact that Mr. Wright suspiciously came back, and the fact that Mr. Butts had no clear reason for his suicide, to the point where the chief prosecutor had a trial held to investigate it, then it would be considered suspicious to the point where the police would have investigated more thoroughly. No, he had to ensure there were no other possibilities. The window had to be closed. Sorry, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's improbable for me and Mrs. Smith to have worked together. You're saying it's true because you need it to be true. And that's no way to do things. Well, what else am I supposed to do? Yeah, what else am I supposed to do? Still, it can't be directly disproven. What? Don't misunderstand. It's incredibly contrived and improbable. And I do agree it's a theory made for the sake of things making sense. Don't bother and let me get to my point. My question is this, one that Miss Smith brought up earlier. Why? What possible reason would these two have for working together? Actually, let's expand a bit. What on earth would be the motive behind this murder? Money. Isn't that clear? It's all money. Yeah. No reason to kill Mr. Butts. Neither did I. Our business was going swimmingly as far as I'm concerned. Damn, I don't know enough about them to actually speculate this much. I mean, I can try and guess, but... even then, it's far-fetched. Another save. Mr. Justice? Okay. I'll just think it through. If I can show a valid reason, maybe I can explain. That it's reasonable that these two work together. The motive for Mr. Butts' murder was... okay, I'm gonna have to present stuff. The figurines? Well, I want to say I'm gonna present the wife, honestly. Maya Butts. Yep. I've made so many bluffs today. But it's actually what I thought in the first place, from the very beginning. What's one more? Only one thing comes to mind. And that is Maya Butts. Staying quiet, Trucy? I believe she herself brought this up, but... upon Mr. Butts' death, she is the one who gets the entirety of his estate. Therefore... No! Miss Maya had nothing to do with this. Interesting. Did I hit a nerve? Yes, you did. I'm not saying she did. What I am saying is that was your reason for doing it. It's obvious you care about her. Objection! No, we care about being accused of murder. Something we didn't do. Objection! Oh, here she comes. Everyone, calm down. I thought she was like hiding right there, but it's actually her sprite that's just glitched. Miss Butts. You've made quite a bit of accusations here, Mr. Justice. Some of them are fairly interesting. But for the most part, you have to admit that you're taking shots in the dark. It's true. There's no point in denying it, you know. It's quite obvious that you've come here unprepared. Not that anything could have prepared you for this. It's insane to suggest that Trucy and Mr. Wright worked together. And it's even more insane to suggest they would have killed Larry. To give me something I practically already had. Miss Butts, with all due respect, Mr. Justice, with all due respect, I lived quite comfortably and happy up until Larry's death. Nothing's really changed for me. So to go so far as to kill somebody... I can't believe it. The figurines! She can sell the figurines. She couldn't do that if he was alive! That's the motive. No, I refuse to believe it. Miss Butts, my theory. Ah, but yes, your theory. Everyone's essentially said that it is a stretch. I won't be an exception, I assure you. But that obviously hasn't stopped you, so my opinion won't either. You've come here with the task of showing a possibility, blah blah blah. Alright, Mr. Justice. Let's play by your rules then. Your theory still doesn't work. And here's why. I'm gonna take a break though. So sorry for your glitched sprite, Maya. But we'll see it some other time. Anyway, I'm pretty sure they've all worked together, and it's all because they want to sell figurines to make a lot of money. Or maybe there's more to it, who knows. Let's see it. Bye-bye, and see you all later, and hope you're all enjoying this.